Hello, my name is Samantha, and this is my presentation about Amanda and femininity called I Am Now Going to Forcibly Feminize You, Bitch! Studies on Amanda Young. This is assuming that you have knowledge of Saw, and if you don't have any knowledge of Saw but would still like to watch this presentation, I have another video uploaded on my YouTube channel which gives a summary of the first 6, except for skipping 4 and 5, Saw movies, and all the parts of Amanda that are relevant to this presentation. So, I'm just going to go through it. We'll try and have fun here. There's some funny commentary, and at the end, there's a little meme just for you. All right. This is pre-Saw Amanda. Back to the beginning. So this is her that is revealed in flashbacks in Saw 6, basically. Back to the beginning, except the beginning is in Saw 6. Nope, ignore that woman. Okay, don't do it, girly. He's not worth it. This is Cecil and Amanda in Saw 6. Pre-Saw Amanda. Amanda is very heavily dependent on men for her drug addiction, especially Cecil. She's referred to by Cecil as a bitch, as revealed in this Saw game, which is very feminizing language. Feminizing language that will show up again. However, he also mentions being afraid of her. He says in the quote, which is like a little diary quote, "You gotta stop that bitch. She killed me, you got it? Perhaps because she is so desperate?" Amanda also dresses very femininely pre-Saw, wearing a black dress with spaghetti straps. This shows how she's sexualizing herself, presumably in the club scene. I have a lot of thoughts about Amanda sexualizing herself for men and then being sexualized by men, which we'll get into, but I think that her outfit choice really is very telling. In my opinion, this is my opinion, this is one of the only times I'll get into my opinion that I think is not true facts. I think Amanda was having sex for drugs, which is not proven, but she's definitely having a relationship with Cecil for drugs, so I don't think it's a stretch. And I think that's very important. Scene of her shooting up is very feminine with exposed skin and a tilted back head / gasping. However, I cannot find that scene right now. I don't know where it is. I assume they put it in Saw 6. I could not find it. But basically, she's doing drugs, and it's very femininely shot, and that is directors feminizing her. But here's her outfit. It's hard to see, but you can see the spaghetti straps, and it's very exposed. Oh, wait, we'll get into a better picture of her right here. Yeah, there's the dress. She is very stringy. As you would know, she is indirectly responsible for killing Jill's baby because she made Cecil go into the hospital thing, and even though she did not actually kill Jill's baby, I think she holds a lot of feminine guilt over that. So I wrote here, I can vouch for wrapping your hands around your body to be a protective gesture. And feminine, I think it is because I'm a female and I do it. I don't know if boys do that, but I've never seen it. And then collapsing on the floor later. Vulnerability, femininity will come up later, but yeah, female guilt over killing Jill's baby. Sorry, Jill. Alright, then we have Saw 1 Amanda. Even in a trap, you get feminized. So, here's my little quote. I want a girl with a short skirt and a saw trap. There she is. We'll get into her outfit now. In the trap, Amanda is still dressing femininely, showing that she's still in the same place even after killing Jill's baby, which did not provide enough of a shift for her to get out of that scene. Exposed shoulders, short skirt, fishnets. She also is lied to by Jigsaw in the trap in a very weird mood, which I have very confusing feelings about, where he basically tells her in his recording for the trap, he says, yeah, go kill that guy, or go stab that guy in the stomach and take out the key, but don't worry, he's dead. But then it's revealed that he is alive. And I was like, why did he lie to her? I don't know. I don't know if that fits into this presentation, but I sure have confusing feelings about it. So part of her test is seeing if she is willing to do a more masculine thing, which is killing someone, especially someone who is alive. And then I have my little speculating. Could it be that her test was preparing her to be an apprentice, since she isn't expected to go through bodily harm if she succeeds, like in most of the other traps, which involve like cutting off a limb or something? She is also the only woman to be tested in Saw 1. Did Jigsaw choose her to prepare her to be an apprentice because of her vulnerability as a woman? That's my theory, and I think it's a good one. Here she's again, so you can see exposed shoulders, exposed stomach, and fishnets. Yeah. Then we get into the interview. Leave her alone. Damn. Leave her alone. She just went through all this, and you're making her do this stupid ass interview. Anyway. In the interview, she is the only woman in a room full of men. There is a very interesting picture of Shawnee as the only woman in a room full of men. And I don't have it in this presentation, but I think it's interesting. I think it's very telling. Anyway, but yeah, it's Shawnee as Amanda. Okay, anyways, so during the interview, she's crying. You can see her crying right there because they're refreshing her trauma. And then this is my really hot take. They refer to her as Mandy in the interview, which I think is feminizing her without her consent because she never in any of the other movies shows any interest in being called Mandy or any nickname other than Amanda. Here's a little quote that I pulled from an article. Like most things men call women when they want to diminish them, Jessie is meant to remind me that no matter what I accomplish, the number of books written, articles published, speeches given, I'm still just a girl, by Jessica Valentine. And I think that is very telling. That is exactly what I was thinking about, but didn't want to say, because it's very popular in the fandom to call her Mandy, and if you call her Mandy, that's okay. But that's what I think. I think it's a very feminizing nickname. I have a lot of opinions about giving people nicknames without their consent, because people give me nicknames all the time, and I think it's weird. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Like, you're not willing to say your full name? I don't know. It's weird, especially in a professional police setting. I don't know. And as the victim of trauma. Then one of the detectives says, "Are you grateful, Mandy?" Which is weird and probing and overly familiar in a very creepy way. Like asking, is she grateful to Jigsaw? It's really like, it's weird. And then she says, in response to that, she says, "He helped me," said while crying. Did she know Jigsaw by now? Because the timeline is not really set about when she meets John and he's like, "Hey, I'm Jigsaw. You want to work with me?" But I don't think she knew Jigsaw when she says he helped me, but it's up in the air, and it's a weird sense of I can't pronounce that word, like being indebted to this man that she doesn't know. He helped me. I don't know. That's what I think. It's weird, and because she's the only woman in that movie, so I mean, she's not the only woman in the movie. She's the only woman in a trap in the movie. Saw 2 Amanda. Desexing of the body, but still placed in female roles. I will get into all the roles she is placed in by men. But here she is. Damn Daniel. That's the name of the 15-year-old boy who we will talk about later. But there she is. And I'll have more pictures of her. Desexed. Haircut. We'll talk about that. Hospital outfit. The nerve gas house, which you should know about. But her trauma is refreshed, in my opinion, without her consent. She's put in this situation because she's taken advantage of by John and Hoffman, because there is a scene in Saw 6 where Hoffman's like, "Why are we putting Amanda in the nerve gas house?" And John says, "To make sure the rules are followed." So, showing that they think of her as a rule follower, she's not allowed to have autonomy of thought, which is something that really comes up in Saw 3. Like they just think, I don't know, she's like stupid and really is infatuated with Jigsaw and his philosophy, and she'll just do whatever they say, and they can put her in this really traumatic situation without worrying about the consequences on her, because it's weird. It's weird. I don't know. It freaks me out. But yeah. So that's my hot take about that. I have a lot of opinions. Wait, I'll say this later about that scene in Saw 6, which Amanda's not even really in. I don't think that is in Saw 6. I think that might be in Saw 5 or 4. But anyway, then Daniel, there's the boy, protects Daniel, motherly, hand-holding with him, comfort, to get reassurance from him, or to give reassurance to him. But in the end, she is saved by him from Xavier, who is this big, strong guy who throws her into the needle pit. And he's kind of the big bad, other than Eric Matthews in the movie. In the end, she's saved by him from Xavier, implying that she's weaker than a preteen just because he's a boy. I called him a preteen. I don't know how old he is. I don't think they said, but implying that she's weaker than him because he's a boy. That's my hot take. But like, I don't know. She takes on this weird protective role, but in the end, it gets flipped, and she has to be the one being protected when like shit hits the fan. I don't know. But he stabs Xavier with a knife. Anyways, so she's feminized distinctly by Xavier, as she's seen as smaller and weaker, and is thrown into the needle pit. There's a room full of people. She's picked out of everyone in the room because she seems weak, but also a rule follower who would do the task of being thrown in the needle pit and finding the needle. There's other women in the room, but he's like, they won't do it because they have personality. But this little femme girl, I'll just throw her in the needle pit. It is a parallel in my mind to this idea of John and Hoffman picking her up and carting her body around to put her in the house to begin with. Men picking her up. Later we will see directly that she can't pick up men in the same way, which is feminizing her, because she is seen as smaller and weaker because she is a woman. Anyway, I think I get into her outfit on the next slide. She has short hair and pronouns. Short hair and hospital clothes are desexing. Now she doesn't have to use her body to get what she wants, like she did in the past in pre-Saw and Saw 1. Instead, mental manipulation, her mind and loyalty are being manipulated by John. Anyway, then there's the reveal at the end of the movie. So Eric Matthews framed her for drug charge that caused her to get addicted to drugs. She has this quote that when she's talking to Eric Matthews, she says, "The second time someone changed my life," I said both by men, "I was guilty. The first time someone changed her life is Eric Matthews framing her for the drug charge. The second time someone changed her life, which is Jigsaw, she says, I was guilty." Guilty of what? Being in pain? This is emotional manipulation. Like, I don't think that being addicted to drugs is being guilty. Is she talking about killing Jill's baby, which she wasn't even directly responsible for? I don't know. I have confusing feelings about that, but the implication that men are able to manipulate her and change her life in different ways. She says, "I found myself a father," which is a replacement for her deadbeat dad who would lock her under the stairs in the dark, revealed in the Saw 3 script. Considers John to be better than this man, but it's not a high bar, right? It's kind of still messed up. But this is her toxic relationship with men. There is a self-harm scene with John there, which is in the picture, where she cuts herself. She has the short hair, which I didn't get into too much, but the short hair is transformative of her giving up her femininity and the clothes. But he's watching out of the window while she cuts herself, not looking at her. And then there's this weird moment where he's standing above her and kind of cups her chin and tilts her up, and it's possessive and showing that she's weaker than him, even though he's an old man with cancer, which continues to be brought up. The idea of her being weaker than John, I think, is interesting. So then Amanda, in her little speech to Eric Matthews, says, "It is I who will carry on John's work after he dies, and you are my first test subject." But then it is revealed in Saw 4 that John and Hoffman kept Eric Matthews alive without her consent. So even though she's, like, feeling pride, like so Eric Matthews is in a test, and the test is, can you talk to Jigsaw for 2 hours during the movie without going to save your son? And he fails the test. So technically he lost his trap. This is not the first time that someone loses a trap. And then John decides, well, they're special. I'm going to leave them alive. So he leaves Eric Matthews alive, even though he failed his test, without telling Amanda about it. I think it's pretty obvious. I think that is ridiculous. And he's someone who directly hurt Amanda, and they're kind of disrespecting her by doing that, especially because he lost his trap too. I got some feelings. Then there's more of the feminizing language, which is Eric Matthews saying, "I'll fucking kill you, you fucking bitch," which is pretty directly feminizing language, calling her a bitch. This will come up again when we talk about Eric Matthews again in Saw 3. Alright. Then this is technically in Saw 3, but I put it here. It is a flashback to Saw 1 when Amanda has kidnapped Adam to bring him to the bathroom for his trap. And we can see that she has to wheel his body there in this little wheelie cart, as seen in the picture. She's not strong enough to pick him up. She struggles to get him into the bathtub in the room. She has to, like, finagle his body. She's physically weak, even more so than John, because at this point, Hoffman has not been revealed, and it's implied that she and John were working on this alone. And Lawrence Gordon, the other man in the bathroom trap, is much stronger, and it's kind of implied that John is stronger than her, and she's really struggling to get Adam moved around, and she even has to put the stuff, like the bleach or whatever, on the little wheelie cart to take it out of there. So, anyway, interesting thoughts. Saw 3 Amanda. Queer-coded goodness, but John is a bastard in this movie. I have my feelings, but okay, long hair, don't care. The long hair is back, baby. All right, we will talk about that. Her hair has grown out, and her outfit shows the top of her bra, which is a return to the more feminine, as she's giving up on John's philosophy and retaining her sense of self. Throughout the movie, what is really happening is Amanda struggling with trying to believe in John's philosophy about people deserve to die, but she doesn't really. I forgot to mention in my other video that I made about Amanda, she makes traps too, and I don't know how much I talk about that, but she makes traps where the person in the trap has no hope of living and they die. And in my opinion, that is her mercy killing people. I think I talk about that somewhere in here. I have to. But that is her mercy killing people because she knows that life does not get better even after you're in a trap. So she's like, you might as well die. Anyways. So she thinks that she's in control of the situation, kidnapping Lynn, running the other big game. But she's still being manipulated by John. Her feelings, feminine trait, feelings, having feelings, which is a big thing in the movie, is her experiencing these emotions are being manipulated by him. He doesn't have feelings for her that are as strong, which is he's seen as more intellectual, which is masculine. Hoffman is seen as more physical, also masculine. So she's being feminized. She has a scene with self-harm. She's hiding it from John as a sign of weakness. I get into this more later, but she uses tools to self-harm, like a knife and scissors, and not like her hands. I'll touch more on her use of tools, which I think can also be viewed as a very female thing of not being strong enough to do things without the help of tools. Another tool is the little wheelie cart. Anyway, so this is something that I think about all the time ever since I noticed it. So her bed in this self-harm scene, which I don't have a picture of, has this piece of artwork above it, which is the birth of Venus. And this is a quote that I pulled from Wikipedia. It's about an interpretation of the birth of Venus, which if you don't know is like Venus, Aphrodite walking out of the ocean, and she's very feminine. So here's the quote. So looking at Venus, the most beautiful of goddesses, might at first raise a physical response in viewers, which then lifted their minds towards the godly. So here's my opinion. She is Venus and John is godly. Amanda wants to be a godly figure in her personal philosophy and not an earthly figure of femininity, but she can't achieve that because she's seen as less than John by everyone because she's a woman? That's my hot take. I think that they had to intentionally include the birth of Venus because I don't know why they would put it otherwise, because it's very random for her to have a piece of artwork above her bed, but I think that it is a very femininely coded drawing, or painting, you know. So, that's my opinion, and I think that is true. Here is my thoughts on Amanda and John in the movie. Physical closeness with John. See the image. Nuzzling into him. Feminine. Jealousy over John and anger towards Lynn, as another woman who John is close to. John says, I love you to Lynn, even though he's in like a daze and thinks he's saying it to Jill. And that makes Amanda cut herself. And she can't free herself from her attachment to John, even as she's trying to break away from his philosophy. She's a nurse. She's a caretaker. She spends most of her energy on keeping him alive and protecting him. Clearly, as revealed through different scenes, she has devoted time to reading about his condition and gathering medicine. And also, I will talk about this later, her wheeling him around in the wheelchair. Caretaker. Nurse. That is a feminine role. Daughter. Also feminine. Okay, here's Amanda and Jill. I'm skipping around the timeline because this technically takes place like between Saw 1 and Saw 3, the Amanda and Jill scenes. So she has a lot of anger towards Lynn as another woman, but she does not have the same anger towards Jill in her scenes with Jill as she does towards Lynn. They're flashback scenes, as revealed in Saw 6. She's more submissive towards Jill. Maybe it's guilt over the baby, and admiration of Jill, because she's special to John and older. She knows that Jill and John have a relationship that goes beyond what she can have with John, and also happened prior to her relationship to John. So it's seen as more special, and she's like, in the way that she thinks that Lynn is coming between her and John, she doesn't feel that way about Jill, and I think that's interesting. So there's a scene where John takes Amanda to the clinic, that's the word I was thinking of, to show her off to Jill. He says to Jill, I brought proof that his philosophy works. She's not a person to him, more like a symbol of his ideals. He also never treats her like she's human. He tests her in Saw 3 and Saw 2. He expects her to live out his ideals. Basically in Saw 3, the whole Saw 3 is a game for Amanda to see if she can resist feminine emotions and be more masculine. And it's revealed in the end that she couldn't. There's the quote by John again. You once told me that she was a lost soul, talking about Amanda, even though she's in the room. Now he says she's clean from drugs or clean from the sexuality. As you can see in this picture, she's very covered up. She's got a little cardigan. There's the repetition from Amanda of "he helped me." Girly, you trying to convince yourself? Hmm? And then Jill and John hug in front of Amanda in another scene, and she is still submissive. Maybe it was this scene, but anyway. My hot takes. Then we're getting to Amanda and Hoffman, which is a flashback in Saw 6, but it's set in Saw 3. The only scene between them is when they're setting up traps for 3. Amanda is wheeling John around. Nurse and caretaker. Also, she's holding this as proof that she's more important to John because he keeps her close, even if that's not true. There's this great quote that she says to Hoffman that is, "Maybe you should stick to the heavy lifting," which is masculinizing Hoffman in a way that people have feminized her. "You're not smart like me and John. You are a brute." I have another quote that's about that. Hoffman grabs her wrist, controlling and degrading, pointing out her scars on her wrist from self-harm. The image below, at the bottom, is her when Hoffman is struggling to put together the trap, and it's a visible sign that she thinks that Hoffman is stupid. She has this quote that she says to Hoffman that is, "You're still dragging your knuckles on the ground," which I stole the description of, which is, "Holding beliefs or having attitudes thought to be primitive or uncivilized, hence ape-like." She obviously views him as a very masculine figure that she looks down on in a way that she looks up to John. It's very interesting. And he clearly looks down on her very obviously because she's feminine. She's visibly smaller than Hoffman, as you can see in the picture on the top right, but stands her ground. She even play fights with him a little while he's grabbing her. She knows that he can't hurt her because John is there, even though later he does. Sorry. Okay, here's another scene between her and Jill, where she is submissive to Jill again, and this is directly after the scene with Hoffman, where she's showing her stuff. Amanda lets John stay alone with Jill, swallows nervously. Nervous disposition, as you can see in the pictures. She walks away from him after she's wheeling him around in the wheelie chair. She's willing to not be John's caretaker, which is her main role and something she clearly takes a lot of pride in when Jill is there. Very interesting. I like thinking about Amanda's thoughts on other women because she has confusing relationship to them. I didn't get into her relationships with women in Saw 2, but that's something else to consider. And her relationships with men. But I think that something that's very telling of her relationship with women is her relationship with Lynn, which we will talk about soon. Then there is the letter, which everyone knows what the letter said. Hoffman wants to get rid of Amanda because she is weaker and he doesn't respect her. How does he know about the thing with Cecil? How does he know she was there? I don't know. It's never explained. Anyway, here's a great quote. This is from Reddit? I don't remember. We were led to believe by Darren Lynn Boosman, who is the director, that John knew the contents of the letter, knew that Hoffman wrote it, and that it was part of Amanda's test. They are teamed up against her again, just like in Saw 2. And I think that theory makes a lot of sense. Also, the director said it because why would he say, "Amanda, there's a letter for you in the drawer," if he didn't know what it said? It is a test to see if she will let her emotions win out, and her guilt, feminine guilt, her feelings of like admiration, loyalty, father-daughter to John, if she will let those feelings win out over intellectualism. And she does. Now we're gonna talk about Lan in a minute. Sorry, I thought it was coming now, but we have this stupid-ass scene. Okay, this is the, I called it Go Little Rockstar. This is the Rockstar scene between Amanda and Adam. This is the Adam and Amanda scene that was cut out of the film for good reason. In the scene, she's kind of coming to his apartment complex to kidnap him, but he's really weirdly possessive over her and trying to make her into something she's not. He says to her, "I like your hair. It's very rock star." When the haircut is a sign of her dedication to Jigsaw and is supposed to be less feminine. He takes her picture. He says, "I'm going to take a picture of you or whatever. Can I take a picture?" And then that is possessing the image of her without knowing her. I don't have screenshots of this, but I have read the script for this scene. And the guy who plays Adam is the guy who wrote the script. And this is going to be a hot take, but I think the script is really awkward. He writes things like, this is he writes, "Amanda's not used to getting compliments. This is her first time getting a compliment when he says, 'I like your hair, it's very rock star.'" I'm like, but I think she probably did get compliments. Also, I think that saying that about her hair is not a compliment. And then he writes in the script that this is Amanda's first, Adam connected with Amanda. He's connected with her. She smiles a little. I was like, no, if you watch the way Shawnee plays it in the scene, she's obviously like a little smile, like, get away from me, I'm trying to come kidnap you. Like, it's like an awkward smile. And I think Shawnee plays it correctly. She does not play it like Amanda and Adam had a genuine connection. She plays it like, stop talking to me, leave me alone. And I think that is correct. I think Shawnee sees something that I also see in that scene. And I have a lot of problems with that scene. And a lot of people think Amanda and Adam are best friends. And I'm not saying that you can't think that, but I do think it's important to recognize that in a lot of ways, Adam is a misogynist. Because in the first movie, he also talks about his vegan feminist punk girlfriend, ex-girlfriend. You don't like people who are feminists? Interesting. That's my thoughts on Adam. People think he's like so great. Oh, he's a little twink. Okay, that's my thoughts on Adam, and I had to get heated for a moment. But later, Adam is her first kill, and she clearly has guilt. Maybe because she delusionally believes that he was kind to her, or like she's freeing him. She basically goes in, he's still in the bathroom, he never made it out of there, and she strangles him with like a plastic bag. So, hands-on kill, we'll talk about that. Now we're in the Lynn part. They're having a moment. Let me have my moment, they said. All right. Okay, this gets off topic of the femininity, but I want to talk about Lynn and Amanda's thoughts towards Lynn and towards women. Queer coding / thoughts on women. Physical closeness with Lynn, also with other women like in Saw 2, and Daniel in the last movie. Maybe people who are less likely to hurt her, she's physically close to them. She says to Lynn at the beginning of the movie, and I think this is a great quote, she says, no excuses, no crying. She says that to Lynn, but then she's the one who cries, and she cries throughout the whole movie. She's trying to avoid her own feminine weakness. Also, close to Lynn's face when she says that. That is the picture. Oh, I don't know if I can say this word on the internet, but she calls her the C word. It is a degrading feminine word. She says, why don't you tell me something that I don't know, you stupid... I don't feel comfortable saying that word. Anger. Emotional. Lynn keeps a cooler head throughout the movie. Interesting. Lynn, intellectual. Amanda, emotional. John, intellectual. Interesting. She says, did I bring John to you, or did I bring your self-centered ass to him? Putting her negative emotions about herself onto Lynn, self-centered. And then she has this part where she gives Lynn an action and is like, yeah, go ahead and kill me. And then she says, just do it quietly so John doesn't hear me dying. Otherwise, he's likely to get upset, rip off his heart rate monitor. Lynn's shotgun collar is tied to the heart rate monitor. And so if John's heart rate monitor stops, Lynn would die. This is the delusion that John really cares about her, being reflected again. She's not aware that she is being tested in this whole movie. That's my opinion. And she has this belief that they're closer than they are. That's what I think. Some quotes that she says to Lynn. She says, I built it, talking about the shotgun collar, teasing her. She says, I'm not the brain surgeon. She's also playful. She's taking on a more dominant role with a woman as she is more confident, reflected in her clothing. More thoughts on Lynn to come. The Mandoline Fight, which was also cut out of the movie, where Lynn tries to escape and Amanda and Lynn have a fight. This is her fight with a woman. They are more evenly matched, but Lynn strikes first. Eventually, Lynn overpowers Amanda to take the key that's around her neck, but Amanda is ahead of her mentally. So Lynn tries to use the key to unlock the shotgun collar, but it doesn't. What is the key? That's the question you should be asking. Could it be, this is a theory, the key to the reverse bear trap that she's keeping with her? Or it's later revealed that Jill also has a key necklace that was given to her by John. Interesting. Lynn says to Amanda, I'm going to fucking kill you. Lynn hates Amanda. Explored more on the next slide. Now I'm getting off topic, but I think Lynn and Amanda's relationship is very interesting, especially female to female. Oh, where's my fade? Lynn hates Amanda? In the script, there is this part where Lynn says, Amanda, you're so young, so beautiful. They cut it out. They cut out Lynn's admiration for Amanda. In the script, Amanda rejects the affection. She says, are we done connecting? She resents that Lynn is trying to separate her from John, because in the scene, Lynn is saying, why are you working with John? You're so young and beautiful. You should do something else. And then Lynn says to her in that scene, I see that you want to help. She is helping John, helping people in her own way by killing them in traps. So that is her way of helping John. I see that you want to help. Lynn sees that Amanda wants to help John, help this nurturing feminine thing. After the little nuzzly scene where she's nuzzled into John's neck because she's really worried that because he's dying of cancer, Lynn says, he doesn't even know you're there. Amanda freaks out. Again, Lynn is separating her from John. She pins her against the wall, and John stops her. Lynn says, you're a fucking freak. She does not respect Amanda. She calls her a freak. There's other things that show that she doesn't respect Amanda. But still, Amanda respects Lynn. She gets her tools that is requested of her. She says to John, you chose her because she's the best. Is the respect for Lynn because John respects Lynn? Or more? Changes after she gets the letter from Hoffman. Her loyalty to John is less than her determination to not ruin John and Jill's opinion of her. But her attachment to John is also feminine. Father figure, I'm pretty sure he calls her a daughter, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I think it's interesting. She has this complicated relationship where Lynn obviously disrespects Amanda and doesn't even believe that she holds power over her. And Amanda hates Lynn for taking her away from John, but still, in a weird way, respects her, which is kind of how she feels about all the women that she interacts with. This weird, respect and admiration for women who are intellectually smart, or Jill and Lynn. She calls Lynn a worthless bitch when she's threatening her. Amanda is not above using degrading terms for women, clearly. She also used the C word. Learned vocabulary from men? That's my opinion. Alright, then there is a scene between her and Eric Matthews where she fights him. And he says this line, you're not Jigsaw, bitch, in the finale of Saw 3, which really sums it all up. In the script, which is on the right, this makes her snap and kill Eric Matthews with a knife. In the movie, she just walks away and presumably left him to die, but then they ended up keeping him alive. Less emotional? I don't know. It's the you're not Jigsaw, bitch quote. It's the sum of all of her negative emotions. Being a woman, bitch. Not able to be Jigsaw. Also, to hear Eric Matthews saying that, because he's the guy who ruined her life. There's a scene where he slams her head against the wall. She has to rely on being sneaky because she's smaller and weaker than him. But in the fight with Lynn, she's also smaller and weaker? I don't know. Interesting. Okay, the finale of the movie. John says to her, you left him for dead, didn't you? But I cleaned up your mistakes about her leaving Eric Matthews to die, even though he failed his test. Cleaned up your mistakes? Bitch, what mistake? Didn't he lose? She says to John, I'm just a pawn in your stupid games, which are feelings that she's been having for a long time, revealed to John. She can't just kill Lynn, though, without coming clean to John. This idea of cleanness coming back again, guilt coming back again, guilt for having these thoughts, maybe, and the emotions, emotional, crying, angry. She says to John about Lynn, why is she so important to you? Jealousy over Lynn again. He says, she's not important to me. She's important to you. She says, she's not important to me. I don't know. I think that is very interesting. Him putting these things onto her that she doesn't agree with. She says to John about Lynn, you gave her control over me? Which is resenting him giving control over her to someone else. A woman who she has been teasing and is the only person that she has kind of had power over this entire time. Especially at the beginning, she has Lynn in a little wheelchair, which is her kind of having power over Lynn. It's an interesting comparison between her wheeling around John in the chair. But Amanda, even though she respects Lynn, clearly thought that she had some sort of power over Lynn. And then John is like, actually, Lynn holds your life in her hands. And she's like, bitch, what? Why are you putting all this control over me onto this other woman? Because she has this preconception that women are weaker than men and less important. Interesting. Think about tomorrow. This quote, I think it's by Jigsaw, is what makes her give up and finally kill Lynn. Sorry, spoilers. She has no hope for tomorrow. The gun is her power. She can't kill people without a tool or hurt herself without a tool. But other people, as mentioned, can throw her body around with their bare hands. or fight her, or smash her head into things. So she has to have a tool in order to win in a fight. There's her with the gun. I'm just a girl with a gun. I'm out for blood. In conclusion, feminized by all men that she interacts with. Adam, John, Eric Matthews, Daniel, Xavier, Hoffman. She's dominant around women. In Saw 2, she's kind of a protector. She's just more physically intimate with them. Is it queer-coded? Disrespect for women, even if she is jealous. That is why lesbians are attracted to her. And I think it's interesting. Here's your meme. Hi, I'm a mandolin. Whoa, me too. So that's my presentation. As you can see, I have a lot of confusing thoughts, and there's no real solution. But I think it's interesting to examine the ways in which she does get feminized by all the men throughout the series. I forgot to mention Cecil! He feminizes her too. But by all the men throughout the series that she directly interacts with, she's feminized by them. She's seen as less than, even by men that she really respects, like John. She's also kind of seen as less than by other women, even though she respects them. I think it's just really interesting. I would be curious to hear your thoughts on it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching my presentation. I hope that you really enjoyed it and it wasn't too long. But yeah, thanks again, guys, and hopefully I'll see you soon with more Amanda thoughts.